Over the course of a WWE superstar's career, they will be prone to going between babyface and heel. This shift in character will keep their presentation fresh and allow the fans to see a different side of the talented performer. There are surprisingly some WWE superstars who have never turned to the light and have never experienced life as a babyface. The reasons for keeping the talent as a heel vary, but it usually comes down to WWE being unable to picture presenting this specific talent in a positive manner. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 WWE superstars who never turned babyface. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and our non-wrestling channel, Incredible. Number 10. David Otunga. Whilst David Otunga was never labelled as the best in-ring talent, he did have an extended WWE tenure. Otunga debuted on the main roster as a member of the Nexus, and for the longest time, WWE believed that Otunga was going to be a top star in the company. Otunga even won the WWE tag titles with John Cena, which is widely considered the biggest achievement of his entire career. During his WWE tenure, Otunga never turned into a babyface, and the reason for this likely comes down to a lack of fan interest. Otunga was never the most interesting character, and fan reactions to him were always less than positive. There was never a logical reason for Otunga to turn into a babyface, and it may have been disastrous if WWE pulled a trigger on the idea. Number 9. Muhammad Hassan. Debuting in 2004, Muhammad Hassan was instantly presented as a top heel in the company. Hassan's gimmick was that he wanted relief from the prejudice and stereotypes created following the 9/11 terrorist attack. The gimmick was controversial, but WWE were adamant on making Hassan a major player in the company. In fact, there were plans in place for Hassan to win the world title. This was going to take place at SummerSlam in 2005, and it would have seen Hassan defeat Batista to ascend to the top of the WWE ladder. Unfortunately for Hassan, a controversial angle which took place in the summer of 2005 resulted in his character being dropped indefinitely, and he was written off TV. Hassan would never return, which was a massive shame, as the man behind the character had a ton of potential. Due to the nature of the gimmick, a babyface turn was never considered. However, a repackaged Hassan certainly could have been presented as a babyface if the storyline and narrative were smartly executed. Number 8. The Iron Sheik. In terms of the best villains in WWE history, the Iron Sheik is certainly near the top of that list. He was the definitive anti-American character who the crowd loved to hate, and fans loved to spend their hard-earned money hoping to see him get his comeuppance. Sheik's work as a heel was highlighted when he lost the WWE title to Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden. This received a nuclear reaction and was a sign that the Sheik's heel run was a huge success. WWE never opted to turn him babyface, but he did receive a huge reaction from fans when he appeared at WrestleMania 17. Sheik returned to be a part of the gimmick battle royal and actually won the event. The reaction was a sign of appreciation from fans for Sheik's hard work and dedication to his infamous heel character. Number 7. Zelina Vega. The inaugural Queen of the Ring, Zelina Vega, is one of the only women in WWE history to never turn babyface. Vega is incredibly gifted in the ring, but it appears that WWE feel like Vega's character and mannerisms work better as a heel. When Vega broke away from her former tag team partner Carmella, there were substantial rumors that a babyface run was on the horizon for Vega, but this never materialized. There's a great opportunity for Vega to turn into a beloved babyface, and with Stephanie McMahon now running WWE and her extended focus on the women's division, this is now the perfect opportunity. Number 6. Rick Rude. Rick Rude is widely regarded as one of the greatest talents to never win a WWE title. Rude was a master in the ring, and his body of work has aged incredibly well. He spent his entire WWE career as a heel, and he was an expert in getting under the skin of fans. Rude was a defined narcissist, and it would have been nonsensical for Rude to abandon these established traits and for Rude to suddenly become a fan favorite. If WWE ever tried to experiment with Rude as a babyface, it's likely that Rude would have had the talent to execute a babyface persona, but Rude was so good in his villainous role that the WWE in all likelihood never considered a character shift. Number 5. Bobby the Brain Heenan. Whilst universally loved outside of the ring, Bobby the Brain Heenan was one of the best villains to ever grace WWE. Heenan's work both as a manager and as a commentator was second to none, and nobody could match Heenan's ability to draw heat and get over other heels. WWE never decided to turn Heenan babyface, as it would have been a lot for the audience to take. Heenan was an established heel, and suddenly seeing him fall in favor with the audience sadly would have never worked. Number 4. Wade Barrett. For the entirety of his main roster run, Wade Barrett remained a heel character. This was a shame, as even though Barrett was great in his heel role, a babyface turn would have been welcomed. This was especially the case during Barrett's days as Bad News Barrett. This gimmick received widespread praise, and it ultimately resulted in fans clamoring for Barrett to turn into a fan favorite, but WWE simply didn't want Barrett positioned in that role. He was even selling a ton of merchandise at this time, and this is usually an indicator that a babyface turn is on the horizon. But according to Barrett during an interview with WrestleZone Radio, WWE failing to turn him babyface was a wasted opportunity. He mentioned,
I think Bad News Barrett was a lot of fun. It was probably something wasn't supposed to get the degree it got over. Unfortunately, things clicked and it worked. And I actually agree that at that point I should have been turned as a babyface. That was the natural progression. I mean, if you look back at people like The Rock, there was times when he was earlier in his career and he was doing some heel stuff and he was just so entertaining that people cheered for him, and the natural thing to do was turn him babyface. So that's what they did. So I agree at that point. That was something that I do regret, the decisions that were made to keep me a heel there.
Number 3. Gunther. Since his arrival in WWE, Gunther aka Walter has been positioned as a dastardly heel. This was a role which Gunther took on during his days on the independent scene, so it made logical sense for WWE to continue this over into his WWE run. Gunther has received a substantial push since being called up to the main roster, and it's clear that WWE value him as a heel. As WWE enter a new era and with Vince McMahon out of the picture, WWE may be willing to experiment with characters, and a babyface turn for Gunther may be an option. Number 2. Shayna Baszler. And upon her arrival in NXT, Shayna Baszler had every trait it took to be a top heel. She had an intimidating presence, and she was credible and legitimate inside the squared circle. Baszler's run on the main roster has been a mixed bag though, as when she first debuted on the main roster in 2020, WWE had plans to make her the top heel in the women's division, and this was a move which was supported by Becky Lynch. Sadly, Vince McMahon fell out of favour with Baszler, and following a WrestleMania 36 loss to Lynch, Baszler slowly moved down the card. There were rumours at the start of 2022 that they may be considering a babyface turn for her, but this has never materialised, and Baszler has since continued in the mundane heel role. A babyface turn for her may be smart, as outside of her ring persona she is insanely likeable, and her appearances on the Up Up Down Down channel have shown that she has an ability to connect with fans. And number 1. Baron Corbin. And what many fans may forget about Baron Corbin is that when he first debuted in NXT, he was presented as a babyface. However, the crowd almost instantly turned on him, as his strong booking wasn't going over well with fans, and WWE subsequently decided to turn him heel. Corbin has now been in his heel role for years, and there are no signs that WWE plan on turning him babyface. Although there isn't a distinct desire from fans to see Corbin as a babyface, Corbin has stated that the concept of turning him face is interesting. During an interview with comicbook.com, Corbin stated, "I can't imagine it, but I think some of the greatest bad guys become some of the greatest good guys. There's a lot of guys where it just naturally fits. I think that's the cool thing about what I have going on now, is I never force anything. People are hating me, okay, let's throw gas on that fire. So I think my career has been very natural in progression. I think that's what put me at the level I'm at. So when I walk into the arena, every single person in there is booing. People are not sitting on their hands, they're not looking away, they're not playing on their phones. They want to see what I do and what they can yell at me about. That takes an extreme amount of work, so I think if it does ever flip, it'd be pretty exciting for everybody to switch." But there you have it folks, 10 WWE superstars who have never turned babyface. Be sure to leave your comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.